All right, so we just learned that the atoms have subatomic particles, protons, neutrons, and electrons. So the next thing we want to talk about is what makes an element an element. What makes, so I've got a pencil here, which of course has graphite, and graphite is made up of the element carbon. So what makes carbon carbon? Is it the electrons, the neutrons, or the protons? It turns out what defines an element is the number of protons. The number of protons defines the element. When we look at eventually the periodic table, we will find that each element has an atomic number. Every element has a number. That atomic number is equal to the number of protons. So an atom's number is equal to its number of protons. And so carbon has 6 protons. So each atom of carbon in that little squiggle of carbon has 6 protons, as we're going to find out, or as we just found out. So every single one of those carbon atoms has 6 protons. It turns out that some of those protons have 6 neutrons, some of them have 7 neutrons, some of them maybe even have 8. But of course, they're all still carbon atoms because they have 6 protons. Atoms can also gain or lose electrons in chemical reactions to form what are known as ions and ionic bonds, but still those atoms are the atom that they always were because of the number of protons that they contain. Additionally, when we look at eventually the periodic table, we're going to see that each element has its own symbol. Okay? It is a 1 or 2 letter abbreviation. For instance, carbon has a symbol of C, capital C. Nitrogen symbol is the uppercase N. Some elements, as as I just said, have a 2-letter abbreviation. For instance, calcium has a symbol C, lowercase a. It couldn't be uppercase C because that was already taken for carbon. The second letter must always be lowercase. The first letter is always uppercase. And there can be, this is for a very good reason. If you don't take this into account, you can sometimes confuse yourself or confuse other people. So if I were to write a uppercase O and an uppercase S, those are the symbols for oxygen and sulfur. Oxygen's elemental symbol is O, and sulfur's elemental symbol is S. If instead I were to write a uppercase O and then a lowercase s, I'm talking about a transition metal, osmium. So I cannot write uppercase O and S for osmium because someone would think that's a molecule that contains the elements oxygen and sulfur, not just an atom of osmium.